Hey, Akhil here from akhiltoday.com. Here comes the book, The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari, and we are at the chapter 9, and we have seen part 1 and part 2, part 3, where we have covered 4 rituals of radiant living. Let us continue our journey. Here comes the conversation between John and Julian. John is asking right now, okay, what's the fifth ritual of radiant living? The reply came from Julian. It is the ritual of personal reflection. The sages were firm believers in the power of inner contemplation. By taking the time to get to know yourself, you will connect to a dimension of your being that you never knew you had. Sounds pretty deep. Julian replied to that, it's actually a very practical concept. You see, we all have many sleeping talents inside of us. By taking the time to get to know them, we kindle them. However, silent contemplation will deliver even more than this. This practice will make you stronger and more at ease with yourself and wiser. It is a very rewarding use of your mind. I am still a little fuzzy on the concept, Julian. Fair enough. It was only also foreign to me when I first heard it. Boiled down to its basic form, personal reflection is nothing more than the habit of thinking. But don't we all think? Isn't that part of being human? Well, most of us do think. The problem is that most people think just enough to survive. But what I'm speaking about with this ritual is thinking enough to thrive. Many people think just to survive, but Julian is recommending to think enough to thrive. When you read Benjamin Franklin's biography, you will see what I mean. Every evening after a full day of productive work, he would retire to a silent corner of his home and reflect on his day. He would consider all of his actions and whether they were positive and constructive or whether they were of the negative sort in need to repair. By clearly knowing what he was doing wrong in his days, he could take immediate steps to improve and advance along the path of self-mastery. The sages did the same. Every night they would retire to the sanctuary of their huts, covered by fragrant rose petals, and sit in deep contemplation. Yogi Raman would actually take in a written inventory of his day. What kinds of things would he write down, John? John asked like this. What kinds of things would he write down? First, he would list all of his activities from the personal care activities of his morning to his interactions with the other sages to his forays into the forest in search of firewood and fresh food. Interestingly, he would also write down the thoughts he had run through his mind during that particular day. Isn't that hard to do? I can hardly remember what I thought 5 minutes ago, let alone 12 hours ago. Not if you practice this ritual daily. You see, anyone can attain the kind of results I have attained. Anyone. The real problem is that too many people suffer from the dreadful disease known as excessitus. Excessitus. I think I might have contracted that one in the past. John said, in the full knowledge of what his friend is saying. Stop making excuses and just do it, Julian exclaimed, his voice resonating with the strength of conviction. Do what, Julian? Take the time to think. Get into the regular habit of personal introspection. Once Yogi Raman had listed all that he had done and all that he had thought in one column, he would then do an assessment in another column. All the activities in one column, all the assessment in the next another column. As he confronted by his activities and thoughts in the written form, he asked himself whether they were positive in nature. If they were, he resolved to continue giving his precious energy to them, as they would pay huge dividends in the long run. And if they were negative, then he would come up with a clear course of action to get rid of them. I think an example might help me, said by John. Can it be personal? Julian asked. Sure, I'd love to know some of your innermost thoughts. I suggested. Actually, I was thinking about yours. We both started to giggle like a couple of kids in a schoolyard, like small kids used to fight each other. Oh, all right. You always did get your way. Okay, let's go through just a few of things that you did today. Write them down on paper. Write them down on paper on the coffee table. Julian instructed. I started to realize that something important was about to happen. This was the first time in years that I had actually taken the time to do nothing but reflect on the things I was doing and the thoughts that I was thinking. It was also so strange and yet so intelligent. After all, how could I ever hope to improve myself and my life if I hadn't even taken the time to figure out what I was supposed to improve? Where do I start? John asked. Start with what you did this morning and progress through your day. Just hit a few of the highlights. We still have a fair amount of ground to cover, and I want to get back to Yogi Raman's fable in a few minutes. Fine. I woke up at 6:30, 6:30 to the sound of my electric rooster. I joked. Get serious and keep going, Julian replied firmly. Get serious and keep going. Okay. Then I showered and shaved, gobbled down a waffle, and rushed off to work. And what about your family? They were all asleep. Anyway, once I got to the office, I noticed that my 7:30 appointment had been waiting there since 7. And boy, was he furious. What was your response? Asked by Julian. I fought back. What was I supposed to do? Let him push me around. Okay, then what happened? Well, things went from bad to worse. The courthouse called and told me that Judge Wilda Best needed to see me in his chambers, and if I wasn't there within 10 minutes, heads would roll. You remember Wilda Best, don't you? You were the one who nicknamed him Judge Wildabest, Wild Beast, after he held you in contempt for parking your Ferrari in his parking spot. I recalled breaking into laughter. You would have to bring that up, wouldn't you? Julian replied, his eyes revealing the remnants of that mischievous twinkle he was once well known for. Anyway, I rushed down to the courthouse and I had another argument with one of the clerks. By the time I got back to the office, there were 27 phone messages waiting for me. There were 27 phone messages waiting for me, all marked urgent. Need I go on? Please go ahead. Well, on the way home, Jenny called me in the car and asked me to stop by her mother's house and pick up one of those amazing peas my mother-in-law is famous for. Problem was that when I took that exit, I found myself in the middle of a gridlock that was worse than anything I have seen in the ages. So there I was in the middle of the rush hour traffic in 95-degree heat, shaking with stress, feeling that even more time was slipping away. How did you respond? Julian asked. I cursed the traffic. I said with complete honesty. I was actually shouting out loud inside my car. Do you want to know what I said? I don't think that would be the kind of the thing that would nourish the garden of my mind. Julian responded with a soft smile. But it might make for good fertilizer. No thanks. Maybe we would stop there. Just take a second and look at your day. Obviously, in retrospect, there are at least a few things that you would do differently if you had the chance. Obviously. Like what? Well, first, in a perfect world, I would get up earlier. I don't think I'm doing myself any favors by hitting the ground running. I'd like to have a little peace in the morning and ease myself into the day. The heart of the rose technique you told me about earlier sounds like it would be fun. Also, I really would like to have the family around the breakfast table, even if I only have for a bowl of cereal. It would give me a better sense of balance. I always seem to feel that I never spend enough time with Jenny and the kids. But it is a perfect world and you have a perfect life. You do have the power to control your day. You do have the power to think good thoughts. You do have the power to live your dreams. Julian observed and his voice rising. I am realizing this. I really am starting to feel that I can change. Great. Continue reflecting on your day, he instructed. Well, I wish I hadn't yelled at my client. I wish I hadn't argued with the court clerk. And I wish I hadn't screamed at the traffic. The traffic does not care, does it? It just keeps on being traffic, I noted. I think you now see the power of ritual of the personal reflection, which is the fifth ritual. By looking at what you are doing, how you are spending your day, and the thoughts you are thinking, you give yourself a benchmark for measuring improvement. The only way to improve your tomorrow is to know what you did wrong today and come up with a clear plan so that it doesn't happen again. I added. Precisely, there is nothing wrong with making mistakes. Mistakes are part of life and essential for growth. It's like that saying happiness comes through the good judgment comes through the experience, and experience comes through the bad judgment. But there is something very wrong with making the same mistakes over and over again, day in and day out. This shows a complete lack of self awareness, the very quality that separates humans from animals. I have never heard that one before. Well, it's true. Only a human being can step out of himself and analyze what he is doing right and what he is doing wrong. A dog cannot do this. A bird cannot do this. Even a monkey cannot do this. But you can. This is what the ritual of personal reflection is all about. Figure out what is right and what is wrong in your days and in your life. Then set about making immediate improvements. Lots to think about, Julian. Lots to think. I offered reflectively. How about thinking about the sixth ritual of radiant living, the ritual of early awakening? Oh, I think I know that what's coming. One of the best pieces of advice I learned in that far off oasis of Shivana was to rise with the sun and to start the day off well. Most of us sleep far more than we need to. The average person can get by on 6 hours and remain perfectly healthy and alert. Sleep is really nothing more than a habit, and like any other habit, you can train yourself to achieve the result you want, sleeping less in this case. But if I get up early, if I get up too early, I really do feel exhausted, John said. For the first few days, you will feel very tired. I'll freely admit this. You might even feel this way for the first week of getting up nice and early. Please see this as a small measure of short term pain for a large measure of long term gain. You will always feel a little discomfort when you are installing a new habit. It's a sort of like breaking in a new pair of shoes. At first, it's a little hard to wear them, but soon they fit like a gloves you wear. As I told you earlier, pain is often the precursor to the personal growth. Pain is often the precursor to the personal growth. Don't dread it. Instead, embrace it. Embrace the pain. Okay, I like the idea of training myself to get up earlier. First, let me ask you, what does early mean? Another fine question. There is no ideal time. Just like everything else I have shared with you so far, do what is right for you. Remember Yogi Raman's admonishment. Nothing to extremes, everything in moderation. Getting up with the sun sounds extreme. Getting up with sun sounds extreme. Actually, it isn't. There are few things more natural than rising with the glory of the first rays of a new day. The sages believed that sunshine was a gift from heaven, and while they were careful not to overexpose themselves, they regularly had sun baths and often could be seen dancing playfully in the early morning sunshine. I firmly believe that this was another key to their extraordinary longevity. Do you sunbath? I asked. Absolutely. The sun rejuvenates me. When I grow tired, it keeps my mood bright. In the ancient culture of the East, the sun was thought to be a connection to the soul. People worshipped it as it allowed their crops to flourish along with their spirits. Sunlight will release your vitality and restore your emotional and physical vibrancy. It is a delightful physician when visited in the moderation, of course. Alas, I digress. The point is to get up early every day. How do I build this ritual into my routine? Here are a couple of quick tips. First, never forget that it is the quality and not the quantity of sleep that is important. Never forget that quality of sleep is important more than the quantity. It is better to have 6 hours of uninterrupted deep sleep than even 10 hours of disturbed sleep. It is better to have 6 hours deep sleep than even 10 hours of disturbed sleep. The whole idea is to provide your body with rest so that its natural processes can repair and restore your physical dimension to its natural state of health, a state that is diminished through the stresses and struggles of daily use. Many of the habits of the sages are based on the principle that one must strive for quality rest rather than a quantity sleep. For example, Yogi Raman would never eat after 8 p.m. He said that the digestive activity it induced would reduce the quality of his sleep. Another example was the sage's habit of meditating to the soft sounds of their heart immediately before heading off to the sleep. Another example was the sage's habit of meditating to the soft sounds of their heart immediately before heading to sleep. What was the reason behind this? Let me ask you, John, what do you do before you go to sleep every night? I watch the news with Jenny, the same as most people I know. I kind of thought so, replied Julian with a mysterious twinkle in his eyes. I don't get it. What could possibly be wrong with getting a little short of the news before I go to sleep? The 10-minute period before you sleep and the 10-minute period after you wake up are profoundly influential on your subconscious mind. Only the most inspiring and serene thoughts should be programmed into your mind at those times, 10 minutes before sleep and 10 minutes after you wake up. You make the mind sounds like a computer. That's a pretty fair way to look at it. What you put it in your mind is what you get out. Even more important is the fact that you alone are the programmer. By determining the thoughts that go in, you also are determining precisely what will come out. So before you go to the sleep, don't watch the news or argue with anyone or even go over the day's events in your mind's eye. Relax. Drink a cup of herbal tea if you like. Listen to some soft classical music and prepare yourself to drift off into a rich, renewing slumber. It makes sense. The better the sleep, the less I'll need. Exactly. And remember the ancient rule of 21. If you do anything for 21 days in a row, it will be installed as a habit. So stay with the early rising routine for about 3 weeks, just 3 weeks before you give up because it feels too uncomfortable in the initial stage. By then, it will be a part of your life. Within the short order, you will be able to rise at 5:30 a.m. or even the 5 a.m. with ease, ready to savor the splendor of another great day. Okay, so let us say that I am getting up every day at 5:30. What do I do? Your questions show that you are thinking, my friend. I appreciate this. Once you are up, there are many things you can do. The fundamental principle to keep in mind is the importance of starting your day off well. As I have suggested, the thoughts you think, the actions you take in the first 10 minutes after you wake up have a very marked effect on the rest of your day. Seriously? Absolutely. Think positive thoughts. Give a prayer of thanks for all you have. Give a prayer of thanks for all you have. Work on your gratitude list. Listen to some great music. Watch the sun coming up, or perhaps go for a quick walk in the natural surroundings if you feel up to it. The sages would actually make themselves laugh whether they felt it like it or not, just to get the happiness juices flowing early in the morning. Julian, I am trying very hard to keep my cup empty, and I think you will agree that I have done pretty well for a novice. But that really sounds odd, even for a band of monks living high in the Himalayas. But it is not. Take a guess how many times the average 4-year-old laughs in a day. Take a small guess how many times the average 4-year-old small kid laughs in a day. Who knows? I do 300 times. Now guess how many times the average adult in our society laughs in the course of a day. 50? I tried. Try 15. Julian said, smiling in satisfaction. You see my point? Laughing is medicine for the soul. Laughing is medicine for the soul. Even if you don't feel like it, look into the mirror and laugh for a couple of minutes. You cannot help but feel fantastic. William James said, we don't laugh because we are happy. We are happy because we laugh. We don't laugh because we are happy. We are happy because we laugh. So start your day on a delightful footing. Laugh, play, and give thanks to all you have. Every day will be an exquisitely rewarding one. What do you do to start your day off on a positive footing? Actually, I have developed quite a sophisticated morning routine, which includes everything from the heart of rose to drinking a couple of glasses of freshly squeezed fruit juice. But there is one strategy in particular which I would like to share with you. Sounds important. It is. Shortly after you have awakened, go into your sanctuary of silence, get still and focused. Then ask yourself this question: what would I do if today was my last day? The key is to really get into the meaning of this question. Now it's like exterior. What would I do today if today is my last day? Mentally list all the things you would do, the people you would call, the moments you would savor. Envision yourself doing these things with great energy. Visualize how would you treat your family and how would you treat your friends. Even picture how you would treat total strangers if today was your last day on this planet. As I told you earlier, when you live every day as if it is your last day, your life will take on a magical quality. And if this brings me the seventh ritual of the radiant living. And the seventh ritual is the ritual of music. I think I am going to love this one. Why? Because ritual of radiant loving living is the ritual of music. John replied, I am sure you will. The sages loved their music. It gave them the same spiritual boost as the sun did. Music made them laugh, and it made them dance, and it made them sing. It will do the same for you. Never forget the power of music. Never forget the power of music. Spend a little time with it every day, even if it is listening to a soft piece on a cassette while you drive to work. When you feel down and you're weary, play some music. It is one of the finest motivators I know of. Aside from yourself, I exclaimed sincerely. Just listening to you makes me feel great. You really have changed, Julian. And not just on the outside. Gone is your old cynicism. Gone is your former negativity. Gone is your old aggressiveness. You really do seem to be at peace with yourself. You have touched me tonight. Hey, there is more, shouted Julian with his fist in the air. Let's keep going. I wouldn't have it any other way. Let us see what are the three rituals, the remaining 8th, 9th, 10th rituals in the next video. Until then, stay connected and make sure of these 3 rituals implement in your life, which is one, you take care before sleep for 10 minutes and after wake up 10 minutes, and listen to the music whenever it is possible, and have your dinner at 8 before 8 p.m. See you in the next video where I'll share 3 rituals of radiant living which are pending 8, 9, 10. And stay connected, keep progressing.